Prime Minister,
Panie premierze,
Excellencies,
ekscelencje,
Ministers,
ministrowie,
Commissioners,
komisarze, generałowie,
distinguished guests.
drodzy goście, przyjaciele.
Witajcie w 12. edycji Warsaw Security Forum. A very warm welcome to the 12th edition
Bardzo
of the
gorąco
Warsaw
witamy na
Security
12.
Forum.
Security
Bigger
Forum.
and better than ever. 2,500 delegates registered from 90 different countries. Distinguished guests, my name is Kasia Madeira, and I will be guiding you through this first day, this opening day, and we would like to extend our distinguished thanks to the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, for being here with us. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. All the high-level delegations are so very, very welcome here this year in Warsaw once again, because you know you have your work cut out. Now, the Warsaw Security Forum would like to just recognize their strategic partners who they have been working together with since 2014. And that is, of course, NATO and the National Security Bureau of the President of Poland. The Warsaw Security Forum organizers would also like to recognize their institutional partners, and that is Poland's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Poland's Ministry of National Defense, and also the Ministry of Digital Affairs of Poland. Thank you so much for your participations. A special thanks to our partner nation this year, France, bienvenue, a delegation of over 150 delegates here with us today, representing the government, parliament, and also industry, led by the French Minister of Foreign Affairs. Bienvenue, France. Over the course of the next 2 days, you will be hearing a lot of thoughts, a lot of ideas. You know that your work has been an incredible effort so far in supporting Ukraine and striving for peace. You also know that that work is nowhere near done. So one thing, please do take with you throughout the course of the next 2 days is the umbrella message of this year's forum. Divided, we fall. We must have unity. And with more on this, please join me in welcoming onto the stage the chair of the Warsaw Security Forum, Professor Katarzyna Pisarska.
Prime Minister Tusk, distinguished guests, friends, welcome to the Warsaw Security Forum. And most importantly, welcome to Poland, a land, as you know probably very well, shaped by history, and a nation that has learned, often at a terrible cost, that freedom is never free, and that peace has to be fought for. We gather here at a moment in history, in our lifetimes, like no other we know. For decades, myself and you have comforted ourselves with a story that a great war in Europe is no longer possible, that confrontation will be replaced by cooperation. But that illusion has been shattered 3 years ago on February 24th, 2022. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this room we know very well that the holiday from history is over, that the peace dividend has been spent. 3.5 years on, it cannot be more clear that Russian aggression is not a peripheral conflict. It has been a turning point in the history of Europe, but I also believe in the history of the world. And it has forced us to look at a brutal truth that war is at our doorsteps. Not because we choose it, but because those who despise freedom have brought it upon us. Only 5 hours drive from this very city, Warsaw, sits another city, Lviv, a beautiful city, historical city in Ukraine. around this time last year, in 2024, a Russian ballistic missile has taken away the lives of the wife and 3 daughters of my friend Jarosław Bazylewicz. His daughters, Yarina, the oldest, was 21. Daria was 18. And little Emilia was just 7. Jarosław survived because he went to the kitchen to pick up some water for his family. And Jarosław is here today. I wanted to recognize his presence with us. Jarosław's grief is not a statistic. His loss is not another number. It is a family destroyed. And what we see now, that since that attack, Russia has only intensified its assault against Ukrainian civilians. Only last month, in August, short-range drones have killed in deliberate attacks on cities 58 people. Ukrainians in their apartments, in hospitals, in schools, deliberate and unspeakable war crimes. And only yesterday, many of our friends here from Ukraine have traveled, were late, because we watched apocalyptic images coming from Kiev as 568 drones and over 43 rockets were launched into Ukraine, including the capital. All again, unspeakable war crimes. And here in Poland and in the eastern flank, in the last weeks, we have seen that Russian aggression does not stop on the borders of Ukraine. Russia provocations continue. Drones violate Polish airspace, and jets violate and test Baltic and Romanian defenses. Ladies and gentlemen, we know very well that these provocations are no accident. They are a calculated test of our resolve. Because for too long, we, as the West, have tried to dance with the Russian bear, to tame it through trade, through gas deals. But the bear is a predator, and every step of that dance has been paid and is being paid by Ukrainian blood today, and if we fail to act, also ours tomorrow. And here in Poland, we stand on the frontier between democracy and tyranny. We are not only a frontier country, we are a central pillar of European security. We are the largest per GDP defense spender. We are in the process of building the largest standing European army. We continue to be the logistical hub that keeps Ukraine supplied and supported. And this is not only national policy, it is a statement to our allies and adversaries alike. Poland is ready, Poland is capable, and Poland is indispensable to Europe's defense. So our task, not only here in Poland, but throughout the whole transatlantic alliance in all your countries, is not only to resist to these provocations, but also to prepare. And we know too well what must be done. We must ensure Ukrainian victory. We must prove that Europe can be a pillar of global security. And last, we must harden our societies before the next war arrives at our doorsteps. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what makes the Warsaw Security Forum so vital. In the next 2 days, leaders and thinkers, so you, will confront the questions that will shape the security of a generation to come. For example, how do we preserve unity? How do we keep the Americans involved, engaged on the European continent? How do we strengthen Europe's defenses, not tomorrow, but today? So this year's theme is not just a slogan, it is a warning. Divided, we will fall. Our adversaries count on our hesitation, they count on our complacency, they count on our disunity, and we must give them none. Let Warsaw in 2025 be remembered as a place where we chose courage over comfort and unity over division, where we declared with one voice, we will not be intimidated, we will not be divided, and most importantly, we will not be defeated. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Warsaw Security Forum. Let our work begin.
Our thank you to Professor Pisarska for those words and for just really underlining how close we are to the war. The further west you go, as so many of you will know, the easier it is to forget. We must not forget. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have simultaneous translation available. There are headsets either underneath your chairs or you already have them, so please do benefit from them. And now join me in welcoming onto the stage the Prime Minister of the Republic of Poland, Donald Tusk.
Jestem pod wielkim wrażeniem
I'm truly impressed
mobilizacji
with the
tu w
mobilization
Warszawie,
here in Warsaw,
mobilizacji organizatorów.
mobilization of
Niskie
the
ukłony.
organizers. Kudos to you for that.
Pani Katarzyna Pisarska,
Katarzyna
pan
Pisarska, Zbigniew
organizatorzy tego
Pisarski,
forum,
the organizers of the
zaczęli
forum,
myśleć, mówić,
started
czasami
thinking,
krzyczeć
speaking
o potrzebie
and
bezpiecznej
shouting
Europy, o
about
bezpieczeństwie
safe Europe, the
dużo
need for safe
wcześniej,
Europe.
zanim to stało się
They
modą.
started long before it became
I
fashionable,
dzięki między innymi ich pracy,
owing to their work
pracy wszystkich
and the work
uczestników
of all participants
tegorocznego
of this year's
i zeszłych
forum
lat.
and previous year's
Forum.
forums.
Dzisiaj myślimy
Today,
mądrzej.
we
o
are
bezpieczeństwie.
wiser in our thinking
Dzisiaj
about safety
myślimy
and security.
szerzej,
We
intensywniej.
have a broader and more intense perspective.
Dzisiaj rozumiemy o niebo lepiej,
We understand
na
much
czym
more
polega realne zagrożenie
what real threat is
w XXI
in
wieku,
the
jak
21st century,
bronić naszej
how
zachodniej
to
cywilizacji.
defend our
przed tym
Western
zagrożeniem.
civilization against this threat.
Jest wojna.
It is war.
Dzisiaj największym zadaniem,
The
najważniejszym
biggest
zadaniem
and most
wszystkich liderów
important
opinii
task for all opinion leaders
jest
today
uświadomić tak
is
do bólu,
to make other
tak
people
do
realize in depth,
głębi umysłów i
profoundly,
głębi
that
serc.
goes in the depths of
Całej
people's
zachodniej
minds
wspólnoty.
and their hearts. We
Całej
should make
transatlantyckiej
Western societies and transatlantic
że jest
society,
wojna.
we must make them aware. This
Ciasno.
is war. We didn't want it, unwanted war.
Miejscami dziwna,
Sometimes
nowego-
strange, a new type of war.
ale jest wojna.
But this is war.
Nie trzeba sięgać do Tukidydesa,
You don't have to reach out to Thucydides
uniwersalnej
and his, sorry to say, universal
tezy,
thesis that has been confirmed that peace is an incident between the natural state, that is, conflicts and wars.
brzmi pesymistycznie, ale też bardzo
It sounds pessimistic and realistic at the same time.
generacji, która
I belong to this generation that was born and matured after the Second World War. Everything was after the war, post-war.
chociaż ta wojna była na wyciągnięcie
Although that war, in its traces and memories about what war brings about, was at the fingertips, we could see horrifying pictures from Bucha,
relacje
news coverage about women who were raped,
mordu na dzieci.
witnesses of homicide on children and elderly people.
Przypomniały mi się słowa mojej
I recollected
o swoim doświadczeniu.
my grandma's words when she was describing her experiences in Gdańsk during the Second World War. When we could see Mariupol in rubble, we could see Polish cities. I'm not that old, but when I was a schoolgoer in the Gdańsk, I come from, half of the way to my school were marked with ruins, post-war ruins.
Po wojnie to będzie
It
już
seemed to me that post-war thing is a continuous one, especially in Gdańsk,
wydawało się, że te
where solidarity was created, where communism fell. We thought that the last negative consequences of the Second World War were kind of nullified. The fall of communism, the fall of Soviet Union, regaining independence. by Poland and countries of all region, and this triumph of Western countries. Some people pronounced it the end of history. Yes, it did seem that not only my generation, but also generation of my children and grandchildren will enjoy peace. We should realize now, let's not live in illusion. Peace is not given once for keeps, for always. Peace is not something specific in this part of the world, quite contrary. Therefore, we need to think deep about peace, war, unity of the Western countries. The consideration that is the essence of your meetings is so important, but actions are more important than words, and this is want to air out loud and clear, especially here in Poland, so that my compatriots can hear it. This war is also our war. We often hear, here in Warsaw and any other place in the world, we often hear people saying, it's not our war, we should not be interested in it. Make them fight, kill on their own, make them solve their problems. We don't want to pay for it, we don't want to sacrifice our money, our time, and even more. We don't want to sacrifice the lives of our soldiers. We need to realize it's not about loving Ukraine. It's not about bad or good experiences related to history which involve Ukraine. It's a question about solidarity that was attacked by an aggressor. It's a question about security, safety, and the possibility of Western civilization to survive. This is our war. Because war in Ukraine is a part of this horrific project that appears every now and again in the world. How to enslave nations, how to deprive particular people of their freedoms. What to do that authoritarian, despotic, barbaric rule is there. I'm not going to count all the attributes that is typical for Putin and his regime, and regimes in many corners of the world. Like it or not, this is our war, not only because of solidarity with those who are being attacked, but because of our fundamental interest. If we lose this war, because we need to say we, the consequences will touch upon not only our generation, but also generations to follow. In Poland, in Europe, in the US, in all corners of the world, no doubts about it. When I'm saying this is our war, we need to think about practical consequences. Poland was very quick, not only because of its geography and history, but because of this very sober assessment about Russia. Poland quickly understood that security is not something to save on. Poland quickly understood that solidarity and unity of European Union, NATO and transatlantic family is a prerequisite not only to survive, but also to win with those that attack the foundations of our civilization. I know that this task is by no means easy. Let's remember it, here in Poland, but not only. If you can count on yourselves, first and foremost. This is why we made this decision to make Polish army modernized. It's a large-scale project because we need to count our capabilities. If we want to count on our allies, we need to be a very strong element of North Atlantic Treaty. Sometimes we might have a feeling that there are cracks or scratches on this transatlantic unity. Let's learn a lesson from here. Don't ask how to keep full unity, how to persuade our American friends for more durable and bigger involvement in Ukrainian questions. First and foremost, we need to show that we are capable of mobilizing our societies and of our governments, of all European unity, to work effectively and efficiently. America has the right to demand bigger involvement from Europe as a whole, as we have the right to expect America that transatlantic treaty is a priority, something that guarantees survival of our world. Let's learn one from another. Let's not teach one another, let's learn from one another. Let's learn about our duties, especially in the face of this war, of our war, as I said. And the third thing, it's not like many people say, quite a number of people in all corners of the world, that this war cannot be won. Everything is in your head, because facts and figures are indisputable. If Ukraine pays a dear price, yes, there are victims of this war also with us in this room. We know exactly what is the price Ukraine pays and Ukrainians pay for the war. But paying this price, Ukraine shows that they cannot think about giving up. Ukraine has not given up. Ukraine keeps fighting. Here in Warsaw, but not only in Warsaw, not only in Kiev, Ukrainians in Kiev, but also President Trump, to surprise of many, publicly said, yes, Ukraine can win this war. These are significant words. This faith and belief are significant because you win or lose in your head, in your heart, and then on the battlefield. So if Ukraine can resist, can be courageous and heroic, pragmatic, rational, so why should we have any complexes here in Europe when facing this aggressor? Why should transatlantic treaty have these complexes? Think a moment. If we thought that we could lose this war, we, the Western countries, we would be cursed till the end of the world. It would be something unforgivable.
All the data, not only proportions. Let's look at ourselves, at the US, and what the Ukraine is doing. Everything indicates that there's no reason to think in the category of capitulation, of surrender, except for doubt, weak will, lack of imagination, cowardliness. Those can be reasons, but if we throw that out of our hearts and minds, there will be no reason to move away from solidarity, support, and cooperation for Ukraine with all possible methods. We're doing this for ourselves, not only for Ukrainians, for ourselves and for our future. And today we have another example that we don't have to be huge and to win. I hope that that image will meet to our friends, Manisanta. They won once again, hugely. As you know, Moldova is in my heart frequently. I try to support Moldavian democracy for many, many years. And I would like to say that the condition for the fact that they supported and resisted to direct Russian aggression, not just on the other side of the Dniester, but in Chisinau. We were dealing with Russian aggression, brutal, influencing the elections. You know what the Moldavian army is like. We won't speak about the numbers, but they won. Because in their minds and hearts, they were convinced that they cannot give up. And the solidarity of they did not also own the solidarity of Europe. This is very important for all of the Western world. We have to be in solidarity,
dlatego, że to jest emocjonalne,
not because it's emotional, that it's sentimental, but that if we are in solidarity as the slogan of our gathering today and our motto, we will not lose. Ukraine will win the war. We will save their independence and the future of our generation. I believe this strongly, and I'm convinced, continue to discuss it, and thank you very much.
Our thanks to the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk. Once again, round of applause, please. The Prime Minister there very much echoing what the Warsaw Security Forum is doing. It's about being united because, like I say, if there's one message to take away, divided, we fall. So we must be united. And what better person to tell us now about the need for that unification? Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming, joining us remotely. Once again, you can access headsets if you need so, the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. President Zelensky, you are live to Warsaw. We have hundreds of people, including the Prime Minister of Poland, awaiting to hear you. Sir, you have the stage.
Morning. Good morning, everybody. Donald, Mr. Prime Minister, Chair Pisarska, Madam Madera, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention to Ukraine, and thank you for understanding that the challenges our nations face are shared ones. They can only be overcome together. Today, as always, we remember the words of Jerzy Giedroyc. Without a free Ukraine, there can be no free Poland. Russians never stopped at just one country. History has shown this many times. Now it is Ukrainians who have stopped Russia, and this matters. And this makes it possible to hold Russia back elsewhere, where they want to break through. Today we congratulate Moldova. In the elections, the idea of Europe won. The idea of normal and stable national development. Russia's subversive influence will not spread farther into Europe. And I spoke today in the morning with Maya Sandu. I congratulated how Russia failed to destabilize Moldova, even after spending huge resources to undermine it and to corrupt whoever they could. What matters is that this election victory happened without decoupling. Ukraine was absolutely right about this, and I thank Poland, first of all, for its support. It's important, too, that a former oligarch who kept that country and our whole region in the shadows of dirty schemes was finally extradited and to Moldova. This act of justice and European cooperation matters not only for Moldova but for everyone in Europe. Because anyone who works against their own nation must one day be held accountable. This applies to everyone who chooses war and sides with Russia, from oligarchs and politicians to any other collaborators with Moscow. And you can see how different this is from Georgia, today Georgia is in many ways lost to Europe. Maybe one day it will return. But for that, Europe must not close its eyes to what is happening there and in Belarus. Every gain for Russia in our region is always a loss for Europe. That is why we cannot afford to lose a single day or a single country. After Moldova's elections, we must keep supporting Moldova. After elections, the hardest task is to meet voters' expectations. Europe can and must help Moldova with this for our common interests. Of course, today in Europe, the focus is on immediate threats, and they are serious. But we must not forget the long-term political goals. And regarding the most urgent threat today, this is something faced by many countries, not only Poland, not only the eastern flank, but also northern Europe, and it could affect others too. The response must be joint, fast, and leave no opportunities unused. We are ready to share our know-how and expertise, and our military can provide help. The drone wave against Poland on the night of September 10 was a test not only for Poland but for all NATO. Russian jets violated Estonia's airspace, and the new drone incidents in northern Europe are another test for NATO as a whole. Russia is testing how far it can go. It wants to shift attention away from the brutal war it countries against Ukraine. Then come the voices asking if Ukraine gets too much support, or if Russia would come down with less attention to Ukraine. These are false voices. Almost all security threats in Europe today come from Russia's destructive actions, from the war Putin refuses to end. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ukraine proposes to Poland and all our partners to build a joint, truly reliable shield against Russian aerial threats. And this is possible. Ukraine can counter all types of Russian drones and missiles. And if we act together in the region, we will have enough weapons and production capacity for these. If Russia loses the ability to strike in the skies, it will be unable to continue the war, and will have to look for other ways to coexist. And there is growing evidence that Russia may have used tankers in the Baltic Sea to launch drones. The drones that caused major disruption in northern Europe. If tankers used by Russia are serving as drone platforms, then such tankers should not be free to operate in the Baltic. This is de facto Russia's military activity against European countries. So Europe had the right to close straits and sea routes to protect itself. We expect the 19th EU sanctions package soon. It must be strong to pressure Russia and to show America that Europe will not do less than the United States of America and the President Trump. And I thank you for your support. Europe also needs to move much faster on Russian assets, using them for defense and rebuilding Ukraine. The ideas are there, European and American. They must be put into action. I thank Prime Minister Tusk and Poland and people of Poland for years of support on Ukraine's path to the EU. Ukraine's membership is path of the security guarantees is a huge part for us and for the entire eastern flank. A geopolitical vacuum is always an invitation to Russian aggression. That is why Ukraine must join the EU, and it will. We are doing everything required, and it is important that Ukraine's accession is not delayed by the national politics of this or that country. This is not about what we have already gone through in history. It is about what we all must avoid. And what we must avoid is any dependence on Russia. That is why our independence, our strengths, and our accession to the EU are also your strengths, your independence, and your strong position in the EU. For our part, Ukrainians will not fail. Ukraine will defend its independence and with it, the freedom of its neighbors and a free Poland, of course. Thank you. Thank you, Poland. Slava Ukraini.
Ukraina Slava. President Zelensky, it's Kasia in Warsaw. I hope you can hear the huge round of applause that your words have brought about, echoing through this room as all the people here are supporting what Ukraine is doing. And you are talking about the future of Ukraine, but we know that right now, Russia is really ramping up every night its attacks across Ukraine. Our condolences, as always, for your loss. Hundreds of drones doing devastating destruction. President Zelensky, remind the international community, you have the world's ears here in this room. What does Ukraine need? What weaponry do you need to keep your skies safe?
If it's okay, I will answer Ukrainian.
Of course.
Okay?
Of course.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It seems to me that today Prime Minister Tusk mentioned about this, and then you have mentioned about this. Number one is weapons that any aggressor really fears. In this case, we're talking about Russia and Putin. It's unity. I think that this is our strong weapon. And even using some representatives, even on the European continent, in attempts to divide Europe, to divide European Union, even using that, Russia did not succeed in dividing the majority of the countries. That's why we are strong, and that's why Ukraine has such support. Second, what's needed now, coordination is needed. If we truly want to defend the skies, we're ready for this step. I have said that on that night, in accordance to our data, in this direction, I cannot say that all these drones were meant to enter Poland, but in that direction, there were 92 drones flying. Our air defense forces were downing everything they could. That's a fact. And you're aware that 19 drones entered Polish airspace. If we acted in coordination, I think we would have better results. I'm not saying that this is what has to be done. This is what Ukraine suggests. But we must be very serious about these challenges. We are offering this to cooperate together. Another thing is Pearl program that allows Ukraine to purchase American air defense systems and missiles to them. 7 European countries have already joined this initiative, and we would very much like other countries to join it, and also Poland to support this initiative. This is what will help us to go through this winter. Thirdly, about our future cooperation. Program SAFE, and in my opinion, Poland will use this initiative. I know that Polish leadership has major plans, and we are ready to cooperate in this field. can use this program in the defense of skies. For example, today Ukraine has interceptor drones, and that's a know-how. But please believe me, in 3 months Russia will have all this. This is what the course of this war shows. But if Russia has it, this does not per se mean that Europe will have it immediately. And I understand why, because thanks God there is no war in Europe, but during peace, everybody's reacting, everybody's slow walking. So interceptor drones is an answer to how to defend the skies, to how to counter any aerial targets. And I'm talking about drones here. So here we need additional financing. I would be happy to concentrate on these 3 points today.
Thank you so much. We hear you loud and clear. I want to ask you a really difficult subject now. We heard the Prime Minister of Poland describe the war in Ukraine, to nasza wojna. It is our war. Your people have fought and died. Your country has experienced extreme brutality. You are now seeing so much of your country occupied by Russian forces. In order to achieve a ceasefire, in order to achieve a peace deal, would you allow the front line to be your new border of Ukraine, President?
Our borders are defined in our constitution. Everybody knows Ukrainian borders that were recognized by all countries in the world and by international law. As regards the contact line or the front line, where the hostilities are taking place, we can move to diplomatic track from this line. This is the line where the leaders can agree on ceasefire and the teams could start their work on the plan to end the war. This is what is possible, but Russia will not be drawing new borders in Ukraine.
Once again, I hope you appreciate that round of applause. Everybody in this room agrees with you, sir. Mr. President, we've seen your relationship with Donald Trump. We've seen it at its lows. We've seen it in better times. Do you feel now that you're hearing the president talking about the possibility of Ukraine getting back its territories, do you have 100% confidence that Donald Trump has your back?
Today, President Trump, as his rhetoric's changed, the signals have changed, and the attitude to Ukraine and security in Europe have changed. And there is a deep understanding of what's going on the battlefield, and it's important that it corresponds to reality. Reality that we see every day. His attitude toward justice and just responses to Russian aggression against Ukraine, his attitude now is just. This is what I heard from him. This is what was there during our discussions. I cannot say what tomorrow will bring, because the world is changing much faster than somebody could have forecasted. So as of today, the stance of President Trump is, in my view, it is truly balanced, and it supports Ukraine's stance. Although undoubtedly he wants to be and to remain a mediator between us and Russia in order to end this war. And even on this item, in the fact that he wants to end the war as soon as possible, here Ukraine supports his steps. Our task for today is to preserve the new attitude of the United States of America toward this war, and so that it corresponds to the attitude in Europe.
President Zelensky, we have a few more minutes, so I would like to just push you on one aspect that the Belarusian leader, Alexander Lukashenko, has said, that President Putin has potentially a peace deal, that it's supported by the United States. Can you shed any light on that?
It's difficult for me to react to what's being said by Lukashenko. Honestly, he lives in his world. He built it this way, isolated himself. He's been living for 3 decades in this house, the house that he built, but this is the house of the size of the country. But I'd want him to remember that his country is independent. He lives in his world, but sometimes Putin pays a visit to this world, and they chat about something. 2 quite old men, so it's difficult to comment. Let him talk.
Thank you, sir. A ripple of laughter through the room and a round of applause. So recently I had the privilege of speaking to some Ukrainian children who were returned from Russia. I know that for the First Lady this is incredibly important. We have generals, we have seasoned warriors amongst us here in this room. We have the people that put together policy, but remind us of the nearly 20,000 Ukrainian children who are kept within Russia. How do we get them back, sir?
Recently, on the sidelines of the UNGA, we had an important summit on bringing back our children. A clear registry is needed, registry of children, and we're working on that, but it's very difficult to find information in Russia about where our children are. Some of them are on the temporarily occupied areas. Thousands of them have been abducted to Russia. So where are they? To find their addresses, their condition, what's going on with these children. That's #1 priority. Here, Ukraine will not manage alone. We're grateful to all the countries who participated there. We had more than 40 countries. Many of the countries, thanks to their connections, thanks to their economic ties, thanks to their intelligence services, they will be looking for children and they will fulfill this registry with real data. That's the #1 item that we've agreed upon, and I'm sure that that's the most difficult question. You will see that the war will end, certain questions will be settled, but the issue of children is not for days or months. It's the question for years to come, unfortunately. But I must state this, because here we're talking about tens of thousands of children, and Russia has been hiding them in various ways, definitely illegal ways. So it's very difficult to find them. So the question of registry, the question of bringing them back is very difficult. On the topic of bringing them back, we've managed to return 1,600 children. It was very difficult to find them, but we found them. And then thanks to political agreements with different countries, from different continents, by the way, we succeeded in bringing one child here, one child there. And then 1,600 may sound like many, but in comparison with how many we have not returned, that's, well, it's not a full result.
We feel the passion with which you speak on this, and thank you so much. It's such a sensitive topic, and like I say, I met some of those children who have been returned, their experiences. No child should go through that. Sir, just as a final thought, you mentioned that the encroaching into international airspace by whether it's the drones of Russia or the jets of Russia, you feel that there is a possibility of a Russian attack on another nation. What more can you tell us about it? What information do you have? Which nation do you perhaps know this could be?
Well, it's difficult to say. You saw that Estonia, Poland, Denmark, Norway, and Sweden, there were certain signals. I'm not talking here that there can be, you know, a precise one-off or a massive attack. No, I'm talking about tendencies here. There is no smoke without fire. All of these are risks. It's definitely a violation of airspace, of borders, and of international law, and this must face a reaction, not from the standpoint which country is under attack, but from the standpoint that Europe is under theoretical, aggressive Russian actions. Therefore, we must defend everybody, and therefore a united voice might provide a response in Europe, in NATO, together with the US. Absolutely, because this is what Russia wants. Russia wants NATO to react, but react only partially, without the United States of America. So the united voice is desirable, and it must react to what Russia is allowing itself to do now. And we must look not only on the European countries, we must look at the countries that were in the USSR as well. The countries where Russia is losing its clout, this is where the aggression could spread as well. Moldova today, thanks God, we have a pro-European result. Kudos to them. President Maia Sandu did a very good job there, because there have been many risks, and probably some risks remain there, but it's good that the population demonstrated where they want to go and which future they foresee for them. I think that there are also risks in the direction of Kazakhstan and many others. I cannot say what's there on Putin's mind, which is why I'm saying that we must be prepared to defend ourselves and to look where Putin could go.
Volodymyr Zelensky, you understand, I had to ask. President of Ukraine, thank you so much for joining us at the 12th edition of the Warsaw Security Forum. Slava Ukraina.
Glory to heroes. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Well, I think the President has given us